Okay. Valerie, thank you so much for joining me today. Um, I'm sorry that we met like this.
Yeah.
Um, so this is just open forum, whatever you would like to talk about, your grief journey, who it's about, what happened, things that have helped you, things that haven't helped you, things people have said, not said, and any words of wisdom that you have for anyone who unfortunately is on this journey as well.
Sure. Okay. I lost my daughter, who was 20 years old, had just turned 20, about a year and a half ago. So last summer.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And it was very sudden. She was in a car pedestrian accident. So she was crossing on a crosswalk and was hit. And we still don't know like all of the details, and that's hard. Um, as far as we know, the person who drove was supposed to be driving, and yet she was at the crosswalk crossing like she always did, and seemingly was going when she thought she was supposed to. So we don't really know what happened. Um, and it was very sudden. She'd gone to work. My daughter was very uh, earth conscious, and so and also a little afraid of driving. So she actually took a scooter. One of the motorized scooters is what she used to get to work. Her work was very close by. So yeah. So
What was her name?
her name was Bella.
Bella.
Yeah, yeah. And it was hard because it was very sudden. She was celebrating about to get out, on her own, her and her boyfriend, and also some of her friends had talked about moving in together, and she was, looking at apartments and stuff, and so it was just very sudden. But I think that what was really hard for us is a lot of unknown. Not knowing why. She did struggle some. She was had a mood disorder, and so at first we didn't know, like, did something happen? She worked with her boyfriend. We just didn't know what happened, and so it's just navigating that, and then the trauma of actually, I realized she had not come home. She was still living at home and going out to find her, and that was the most upsetting thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did not actually, have to witness seeing her, but we got there when the ambulance was leaving, and, no one would tell us anything for I'd say it was close to an hour, but we knew that yeah, yeah. And finally, the officer, came and talked to us, and it was me and my wife and also her boyfriend. We had gone to her work to go find her. And he told us that she had left when she was supposed to, and so we all raced down to her route, and that's when we came across the crime scene tape and everything. And to this day, I can't see that yellow crime scene tape. I just can't. Um, yeah. So it was just um, so many feelings. It was hard because we had been honestly trying to keep her alive for the last couple of years. She had struggled some, with depression and stuff. She graduated during COVID, and it was just a big struggle and trying to figure out her place in the world, and
Yeah.
yeah, and, and we had gotten her to a pretty good place, and that's what was really hard. Um, you know, um, yeah, we were just really starting to have hope for her future and all. But, in our journey, it's been hard because I've done, mental health. My degree is actually in psychology, um, and I appreciate, the mental health community. A lot of my friends are therapists, but I just felt like grief was one of those areas where we have this kind of formula of, like, checklist to go through,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't hit a lot of, I felt like I was coping very well, um in my head. Like, I was like, "Okay," like, "This is what I can't control, this is what I can control," Um, I would focus on some positive things. My daughter did really struggle in this life, and so I was like, "She's free," and just kind of try to embrace those things, but there was nothing, I found that my body was actually really holding on, and, I got to the point where I was actually having, and I already have some neurological problems sometimes, but I was having the room spinning and different things happening just from being triggered from stuff,
Right.
and I didn't know how to make that better. Like, none of the things that I talking about it was not helping, like, doing
Right.
a lot of those things were not helping, and so I was like, "It's in my body, how do I get it out of my body?" Like, and I'm glad we're starting to have conversations about that. Body keeps a score and things like that are helpful. But to me, specifically in grief, I was like, what can I do? So I really tried to tap into how I was feeling, when I was triggered, and then what things did help. And I found that actually allowing myself to grieve while in motion helped me. So I don't know
Like what?
why. Like, I would walk and listen to my daughter's playlist of music that she had sent me, and so I found that that actually in allowing myself to sit there and just, like, cry and laugh sometimes because some of the songs and stuff that she sent me, um, she had a sense of humor, and it definitely showed in her music, and so I would do that, and even just, like, walking on the side of the road because that was a trigger for me. She literally died around the corner from my house. I couldn't turn left out of my driveway. So it was just hard.
Yeah.
But I tried to kind of then do that to help, and that seemed to help. Something about the motion and actually, helped release some of those feelings in my body. Then we went on, kind of a trip away to Mexico and stayed at a place, and, they happened to be people my wife knew, that offered us services, and it was off season, it was very quiet, it was great, but they did these energy, like, healing things, and they were like, "Are
Interesting.
you open to anything?" And we were like, "We're open to anything that will help us feel better."
Yeah.
So we had some stuff where there was stuff with crystals and things they laid, and there were things that made me feel better, and then there are some things that didn't really, and, there's some stuff that didn't translate. All my paperwork was given to me in Spanish, so I couldn't read that, but it still was helpful. We did yoga where we were actually encouraged to shout,
Oh,
and, I mean, the feelings from my body, like, I almost would pass out from it, but it was releasing, and it was then it told me, "Okay, this is actually doing, something for me."
yeah.
And then we found an acupuncturist, and the
Oh,
acupuncturist yeah, so I was having some physical stuff, and then I started realizing some of my physical stuff was past before, but some of it was actually related to my grief. And then, my wife as well. So we started in kind of targeting some of our physical things, but I found that while I could still cry, I never really had that deep, like, I don't know, like a real it would be more like little trickles of tears or just stuff, but I had under acupuncture, like, deep belly cry, not for long, for like 30 seconds, a minute, but it felt like hitting a place that I hadn't been able to hit before to kind of unlock some of that to help me.
right.
So, yeah, and my wife couldn't feel she had a hard time, she would block everything and all emotion, and it helped her start to be able to do that too.
Oh, that's
Um
amazing. Is it like a specific kind of acupuncturist or just like a regular acupuncturist?
It was pretty regular, and she tended to target, places, but she did know that we were going through grief. And so I don't know a ton of like, she did like some of the places, like I literally felt grief like coming from like my in like here.
Yeah.
And she did actually put some needles there at some point, but even when she didn't, there were times when it did just and it
Wow.
wasn't like and it wasn't a head thing because again, my head, like, I had processed through, I'd done my grief counseling and stuff and gone through, and my counselor's like, "You're doing really good," and I'm like, "Yes, but my body feels like it's just it's, like, going haywire."
Right.
There's something that isn't, like, that talking about it isn't doing. And this was really starting to hit that, and I think that, that laying on the ground, there's something to actually being grounded, like, some days, me and my wife would allow ourselves to lay on the ground, and our dogs would just lay there with us, and we'd laugh, and sometimes we'd cry, and, and just kinda let ourselves have those emotions too. So that helps, and talking does help, knowing you're not alone, as sad as that is.
Yeah.
But knowing that other people have also been, like, not been able to just, like, snap themselves out of it, like, it is I think that we need to be able to say, like, when you lose a loved one, especially, like, before you would think,
Yeah.
it's it's a shocking thing, and is
Mhm.
a very impactful thing, and, it really impacts every aspect of your life, so of course it's gonna be, um and for me, I personally could not go on living my life the same afterwards. Not that there was anything wrong with, but we changed where we live. And I had to do that because of where it was. We had a beautiful home, but I couldn't live there anymore.
Which is completely understandable.
Yeah. So but then we just wanted a complete change, and we started to make a smaller change, and then we looked at each other, me and my spouse, and said, "You know what? A little change is we need a big change." So we have actually completely went to the other side of the country,
Oh, wow.
to be by our other child, and just, I've changed my career even because a lot of what I did, I was a parenting coach and consultant, and a lot of what I learned, of course, was from my own children, including Bella, and also my journey that she had a food allergy that affected also her mental health, and just, so it was hard for me to continue, taking something that I did so much also, that I kind of learned so much of it in a way from her, and then also just having, I yeah, I it was a very emotional job to be very involved in people's lives, to help them navigate challenges and stuff, very much like what I was then now suddenly going through. And
Yeah.
so I just needed to step back, and so I just found a way. I was like, "Okay, I've gotta do something that I'm still helping people, but in a kinda more positive, like, light." And
Yeah,
so
it could
that's
be you don't helping people is wonderful, but just you can't be that drained.
yes,
Then you
yes,
can't help if you can't help yeah, if you, it's not good for anybody if you're drained and trying to help other people.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Has has there any has there been anything that anyone has said to you on this journey that you were like, "Oh my God, that's wonderful," or things that people have said to you and you're like, "I can't believe you just said that to me."
Well, I had a therapist that was very nice, but I felt like, especially towards the end when we were wrapping up, she would tend to tell me a lot of very, anecdotal, like, stuff that people say. Well, I don't know, like, "All things are better with time," like, I don't know, just little things, and it just really was hard because at that point, I think that I was still only, like, 2 months out, and
Yeah.
it was like yeah, and it was just hard, um, I think that when people say things like, "Everything happens for a reason," that's hard, right? It's like yeah, I
Yeah.
never liked that even before this, but I was like, "Yeah, sometimes some things happen because, people are jerks or whatever." Like,
Yeah.
sometimes we have to take personal responsibility or whatever, and
Yeah.
then also say what is completely out of our hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, or, they're in a better place or whatever. Those things are hard. Um, I did work through I wish I would have pulled it out. Actually, I might not have it. Might still be in my pod from moving, but, I did work through a book that I did really, like, and maybe I can share it with you later. So, um, that was perfect, and it did walk me through, it's very, kinda Buddhist feeling, and, um, it it did really help me. It really
Oh yeah, I
helped.
would love to know the name whenever you have a
Yes.
chance.
Yeah. I don't think I can't remember. Yeah. Yeah, so do you have any other questions? I'm trying to think.
Is there anything that you wish people would know about this journey that luckily they haven't been on yet?
Mhm.
Unfortunately, we are on this. And it's a
Yeah.
continuous journey. It's not like
No.
you're going to be over it in,
Yeah.
in a year.
Yeah.
That's not true. And if
Yeah.
you say it is, you're just lying to yourself to make yourself feel better, I think, because I don't think
Yeah.
it's possible.
Yeah. Um, I think that's probably it. The big one is that stop acting like it's something that we're gonna get over, like it's not like our lives are altered
Yeah.
completely, like and it doesn't mean that there doesn't mean that there aren't positive things in our lives and there are, we don't have things to move on and move through. But to approach it like a problem that like, I don't know, that we're going to work through and then we're going to be okay, I think is just the wrong approach. It's not a linear thing.
Yeah.
um, and I think that a combination of like continuing to reach out to someone who's grieving, like don't give up just because today was a bad day and they said no, about doing something or whatever, like, and don't take that personal.
Yeah.
Um, I have noticed in grief, that, um, sometimes friends will take things personal and just think that like whatever, they don't really get it. And I think that understanding that it really has nothing to do with you and, just continuing to just kinda put that hand out there and reach out, with love and patience.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely 1000% agree. Do you feel like people are afraid to talk to you because they're afraid that if they bring up Bella's name that you're going to get upset and they don't want to upset you?
I think that some people probably completely avoid, um, because they're uncomfortable and they just don't know what to say and they're afraid to say the wrong thing. Um, I know so she had a very close-knit friend group of kids, and one of the things I loved about spending time with them before we moved over here to this coast, and we still check in with them, but was that they weren't afraid to talk about her and to, and also not to, like, they didn't turn her into a saint. They didn't make her, like, to a
Yeah.
martyr, something that she wasn't. They talk about her, you know, and in a very real, but loving, like, way, and, so we were able to get together and just at times just talk about her, talk about how they were feeling and what they were doing and stuff too. um, um, and talk about, what how they were feeling, and then also how even Bella would want them to go on living their lives in what way and stuff like that, but also just sharing the struggles we were having, all of us,
Yeah.
and how we were all dealing with it in completely different ways. So
How's your other daughter doing?
she's doing all right. She is she's struggling finding a therapist that really is experienced in grief um and complicated grief, I think.
Mhm.
And there's plenty of people I think that have the overall like certificate or whatever and have had some teaching on it, but I think that she's really struggled. She's tried several times, and right now she's put it on pause.
Well, if she
Um,
ever wants to talk with someone who unexpectedly lost a sibling,
yeah,
I'd
I
love, you know,
yeah,
it doesn't have to be anything like this.
yeah,
We could just talk because
yeah,
unfortunately I understand what she went
yeah,
through.
Yeah, yeah, I
So, I
appreciate
would
that.
love to talk with her if she would like to talk.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we tried, there was supposed to be some kind of, grief group around food that we had been told, but it was primarily done during COVID, I think, and I think it kinda just went ended after people stopped, having to be at home. Um,
Okay.
and that's something she was interested in because she likes food too, so she was like, like, maybe sitting around the table, it would be easier to talk and stuff, but
I know, I don't know around you, but I know around here there's support groups called Compassionate Care,
Mm.
and they have different groups. I went to one thinking that it was a sibling support group, but it was for parents who lost their child.
Oh, gotcha.
But they do have some
There's
for
some groups.
siblings who lost siblings.
Okay, maybe
So there might be something that
sometimes
she could look into if she's, when she's ready.
yeah, she might be open to it. We tried some groups, again, this was back when we were in Florida, but, we tried some groups and, sometimes it helped and sometimes it was it hurt more. I don't know, it
Yeah,
was hard.
which is
Um,
completely understandable.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes it just yeah. It was I think the hardest thing about groups is sometimes it can feel like then that you get worried that people are feeling the same way they felt 30 years, ago or whatever, and you start thinking, "Is that gonna be me? Am I gonna feel exactly, the same and stuff?" And it's hard because it isn't really like, I feel different now, a year and a half in, than I felt from the beginning. I wouldn't say it's necessarily better, it's just different.
Right.
I have different ways of coping, I have different things that I do on like, on a regular basis. Um, I think one of the hardest thing as time goes by is that I think that a lot of people do like, when it first happened, people kind of and maybe even curiosity, like, they'd ask questions or you talk, but now it is definitely in that sphere of, like, "Oh, like, let's just pretend like it" almost like she didn't exist, and
Which
that's
is so much worse.
Yes, it is. So I try to casually talk, about like, I don't avoid and it's hard, like, I did just start a new job. I did start like, people overall don't know what happened, but if people look me in the eye and ask me, about, "Oh, how many kids do you have?" And all those things and stuff,
Yeah.
I yeah, I'm not gonna leave out one child, and so I
Yeah.
do say that that I have my daughter and that my daughter lives here that we came to, be close to, but that we had fairly recently lost another adult child.
Yeah, I
Uh,
said that too when people I started a new job. Susie passed away in September. I started a new job that April.
yeah,
Um,
similar,
and
yeah.
again, I didn't want to be known as the person
Yeah,
who just lost their sister because
yeah,
that's,
that's also a big yeah, it's hard, yeah.
especially in the way that we lost her. Um, and I remember people like, "Oh, like how many siblings do you have?"
Mhm.
Regardless if she's here or there, like I still have four siblings.
Yeah,
Um, and if they were to ask, oh,
mm,
like, I would bring it up, but
yeah,
it's trying to find a hard balance
mhm.
in not making people uncomfortable, but not making yourself uncomfortable to make other people comfortable.
Yes, yes,
So
definitely.
that's like the hard balance,
Mhm, mm,
kind of like on a daily basis.
yeah, yeah, it is.
But yeah, again, I'm really sorry.
Thank you.
There's no words,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just not fair. There's a quote I saw that said about the things happen for a reason,
mhm.
and it said, so I'm paraphrasing, things happen for a reason, and it was crossed out, and it said things just suck and should never have happened.
Yeah,
And I'm like, yeah, it's
yeah,
pretty
yeah, yeah,
pretty accurate.
yep, yeah.
But is there anything that you would like to tell everyone about Bella? Anything like special memory that I've heard?
Um,
story?
she was, such a unique person, and honestly, like, if somebody had told me, like, I don't know, um, I think I don't know, she didn't necessarily seem to fit in this world to me, like, even as a kid, like, she'd say things, and I'd be like, "Who are you?" Like, she'd say these, like, off the wall, but, like, brilliant stuff at, like, 4, and I'd be like, What?" She just always saw the world differently, and, I, um I really appreciate as her mother what things that she taught me. Um, one, that I didn't know everything because by the time I had my kids, I had actually helped a lot of people raise theirs, and you think you know what you're doing, and
Yeah.
she definitely gave me a run for my money, but I just had a lot of fun with her, and, I think that that's the hard part is I really do just miss her little quirky, like, things. Hers, like I said, she had a funny, like, very sassy kind of sense of humor. She had the best eyebrows for giving you looks, like, with her face. I'm like, "Oh, she can she can tell you off with a look." And yeah, I miss all of that, but I'm really glad, in spite of all the pain of losing her, that Um, she was my second child, and I, almost didn't have her. Um, uh, Me and their father, were, ended up splitting up, and I think I kinda knew that before I had her, so I almost didn't have her, and I'm really glad I did. I'm really glad that we had her for the 20 years we did, and, yeah, I will always remember, her little hand. I took care of children, but I'd never had a baby so early. She would pat me on the back with her little baby hand, like, when she was very small, and just that was her loving me because I guess that's the way that I comforted her and loved her, because she had a food allergy and she was always crying, and, um, and I just remember her little hand and being like, "She's so little for her to do that, she's comforting me." And I don't know, just little things like that. Um, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing her with us.
Of course. Yeah. I hope everybody gets, loss is hard, but it's still worth loving people with all your heart and having those experiences and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's also a thing moving forward. Um, Sometimes it's hard to continue to, you know, I think participate sometimes in all of the things because you get a little worried of like when you have such a hard loss. What if you lose someone else? My dad's sick right now, like it gets hard, but then you're like, no, every second it's worth it. And we don't have anybody forever.
Yeah.
So it's just like when that happens, just reminding yourself that it's still worth it. Um, to continue to engage and connect with those that are worth engaging and connecting with. So
Yeah. And I think being on this journey helps you realize who those people are.
oh yeah, definitely.
But
Yep.
well, thank you again so much.
Of course. Yeah.
And hopefully we will chat soon.
Yes, sounds good.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.